Oops, I didn't mean to do that.
Just got a whole smoking.
All right, gentlemen.
Really?
Ah,
It's lucky he's taking
getting
the
old.
Really?
All right. So this is Brian Bailey here, bringing you kind of a taking flight session where we've been talking Tennessee whiskeys this month, and why not do a flight of Jack Daniels? Because I think Jack Daniels gets a bum rap from a lot of people. Jack makes some pretty good whiskey. So tonight we have Old Number 7, probably the most iconic of the Jack Daniels family. One of my favorites, Bottle and Bonded Rye. And then, of course, we have Jack Daniels Single Barrel. So we have a bunch of guests on today. So we'll start with Bo. We'll go to Dave. We'll go to Eddie, and we'll go to Ted. So everyone's going to introduce themselves. And since some people will be new to the videos, give me a classification of your whiskey expertise: newbie, casual, dangerous, or enthusiast. So Bo Hammond, what's up?
Bo Hammond, how are you? I'm good, Brian. Good to see you again. I am
get you a
casual.
better
That's
camera.
what I'm going to call myself. You call me what you want to call me. Eddie, shut up. I'm casual.
You're a casual whiskey drinker. Fair enough.
Yeah.
All right, Dave, how about
Dave Higgins, my boy Chuck Lee here. I am a newbie, probably better categorized as I don't have a clue. So
Fair enough.
I went down into Brian's basement and Eddie's house there and got dragged into some whiskeys and I had a blast. So we're new to this. I'm new to this. Go ahead, Chuck.
My first attempt at any kind of whiskey was in the early '70s. I went as a senior in high school to college, and needless to say, I have a experience with whiskey.
Fair enough. Fair enough. Eddie? All right. That's fair
I would
enough.
say the shelf supports that.
And Ted?
Yeah, I'm Ted. I'm on West Coast, Los Angeles, and I definitely a newbie.
Newbie, awesome.
Shit about whiskeys.
All right, this is awesome. So we got some new, we got some old, and we got in between. So that's perfect. So what we're gonna do is we're just gonna kind of go through a flight, kind of taste and enjoy. Of course, we'll start with Old Number 7, most reliable. Little background about Jack Daniels. If you don't know, Jack Daniels was the first American distillery. I think it was 1866, somewhere around that time. They're in Lynchburg, Tennessee. The cool thing about Lynchburg, Tennessee is a dry county. So they produce probably the most whiskey of any whiskey company in America, but the county is actually dry. So you cannot buy alcohol in the county except if you're at the Jack Daniel plant. Jack Daniels, the most iconic label, Old Number 7. When you think of whiskey, you think of this. And if you've traveled the world, Jack Daniels is in 170 countries. Pretty much any bar in the world you go to, you'll see this label sitting somewhere. And it's usually inside of a Jack and Coke. But Jack Daniels was an orphan, created his own distillery. He died of a weird thing. He kicked his safe and got a blood clot and actually died young. Kind of weird. But again, the most iconic brand and probably the number 1 or number 2 whiskey that is produced and sent around the world. Jack and Jim Beam kind of fight over that title each year. But again, the beauty of Tennessee whiskeys too is they're very easy to drink, very smooth, very friendly, compared to a lot of bourbons. So we'll start with Jack Old Number 7 first. Put a little bit in your glass. You can use rocks glasses, highball glasses, low balls, or if you have a Glencairn as well, I went ahead and just put it in a highball glass.
I just want it noted for those two of you who I spent a lot of my youth with that these glasses do make better pours than plastic baggies tucked down your pants before football.
That's stuffed in the girls'
Just
bras
saying.
to get them in the football games. Yes.
Do we pour the whole airplane bottle in there, BB?
Do what?
Pour like an airplane bottle. Pour the
I
whole
wouldn't
thing
pour the whole thing. Just pour like
Okay.
a half. Yeah.
All right.
Again, we're just tasting. If you want to circle back and drink it again later, you definitely have that option.
Plastic one here.
And then again, for your newbies, when you drink whiskey, you kind of nose it. Like if you're a wine fan, you nose it. You try to pull notes from it. And then when you sip, you take a little sip, kind of prime it. And then the second sip is when you'll look for flavors. Your first sip's going to burn a little bit because it is a high proof alcohol. So it will burn a little bit.
And what
So
are you like nosing it for? What are you smelling?
you're looking for different flavors. So typically, when you're looking at bourbons, Tennessee whiskeys, you're looking at vanilla, you're looking for caramel, you're looking for some sugar because corn and the barrel is going to give you sweet. You're going to be maybe smelling oak. You might be pulling in, I know with Jack, that it's a high rye. You can start to pull some pepper, baking spice, kind of peppery notes inside of it. So you're really starting to look for that. And then again, Tennessee whiskey, the reason it is Tennessee whiskey, okay. Every Tennessee whiskey is a bourbon, but not every bourbon's a Tennessee whiskey. So Tennessee whiskeys are designed like bourbons, except they go through an extra process called the Lincoln County process, where they drip, before they age it in the barrel, they drip it over charred maple. And
So
that will
again,
help.
You said every Tennessee
Every
whiskey is a bourbon?
Every Tennessee whiskey is a bourbon, but not every bourbon is a Tennessee whiskey. Just like every bourbon is a whiskey, but not every whiskey is a bourbon. So it's kind of it's just arrogance. So Tennessee whiskey is a bourbon, but what they do is they add an extra charcoaling filtering. So that's why they call it a Tennessee whiskey. They're the only ones that do that. So Tennessee whiskeys tend to be really smooth, really sweet because they pour it over maple. So it gets rid of a lot of the harshness. So it tends to be a very easy drinking whiskey. So it's for the newbies in here tonight, this is a great way to start. So what do you guys taste or nose? Anything exciting?
I got the vanilla right off and the pepper, like you were saying there. And that's what I'm going to tell the cop when I get pulled over tonight. But that's
right. I get a lot of pepper in this one.
Just breathe on him.
Well, I
Don't you smell the pepper?
That's right.
I was going to say, I definitely smell the wood. So I really got the wood, but I don't know if that would be appropriate on the.
Yeah.
All right, never mind.
We got wood again.
Listen, you and Dave started with some weird stuff anyway, so you do what you want with the wood.
He's
Dave.
very happy to get wood.
Wait,
Yeah,
which group is actually from California? Wait, what is this?
Just down the road from Theo.
If I had any feelings, that would hurt.
That's right.
I tell my wife I have one now and then. She hurts it quite often.
So Jack
I
number
get honey
7.
out of that thing, B.
Is it? Can we?
It's off the rails, Brian. Already.
I knew it was gonna be.
Can we
But that's
chase
all right.
this? Are we all right to chase this or not?
Yeah, you can chase anything you want with it.
Okay, because this is actually
Just
from
don't
the.
chase me.
This is actually a beer from the oldest brewery in the country,
Yingling.
Yingling.
Listen, this is a whiskey podcast. If you're going to chase this, you have to chase it with another crappier whiskey.
That's what got me in trouble when I was in college.
Yeah, exactly.
But we all call Yingling the Pennsylvania piss water.
Oh, that hurts.
Nice.
But all right, so anything does old number 7, do people like this or dislike it, or any thoughts on it?
It's definitely smooth, I think, and like it goes down, like you said, easy.
Agreed.
I can honestly say I don't think I ever drank this like this.
Neat.
So it's a different way of having this drink. You and I talked a little bit last time, Brian, about picking out the different sweetnesses. I get a little like a bit of a honey in the middle of it from me. I don't know if that's accurate to how they try to do it, but that's kind of the sweetness I pull from it.
I actually pull a little banana out of this too.
When you say you don't drink it, do you mix it with something when you drink it?
I don't anymore. Are you talking to me or Brian? Sorry.
Yeah, no, Jack. I would say old number 7 is designed for cocktails. It can hold up neat, but it's really designed for cocktails. So Lynchburg lemonade, Jack and Coke.
Is that because it's sweet, or like why do you say that?
Because as we go through the levels, you're going to start to get more complexity. You're going to start to pull out more and more flavors as you go kind of through the line. So again, you think of it as a car, right? If you can buy the C-class Mercedes, it's a Mercedes, but it's a C-class, right? That's, this is this. Now we can start going to E. Now we can start going to the other. So as we're kind of moving up the chain, we're going to start to pull more features and more complexities. But people really rip on old number 7. I think it's okay.
Super smooth.
Yeah.
You said banana. Didn't you say banana?
Yeah.
Is that what Eddie just called it? Watered down?
Yeah. Uh-oh. I don't think
That's probably not the only time that sentence has never been said. I'm guessing that gets said a lot.
Did you like it, Eddie, or is it just too simple?
I agree. Yeah. But for beginning whiskey drinkers, this is really good because it doesn't hurt you.
And if you didn't feel like a beginner before Eddie just gave his professorial dissertation, you should feel like a beginner now.
Right.
Well said, Bo.
Well, would you say so? I get that it's sweet. Is it like have a high sugar content?
No. So the sweetness comes from the barrel, from the mash bill behind corn. So all sweetness from your whiskey really comes from the barrel. You'll get some of it from the essence of what it was made in. So corn tends to be sweeter than a rye, but the sweetness is really from the barrel, and also the smoothness and the smoothness of the Jack Daniel's, because it has been filtered extra, portrays to many as sweetness. So the smoothness is is sweet as well. But again, I give a lot of grief for Jack Daniel's and Old Number 7. We rip on it all the time. But as a beginner whiskey, and again, it goes great with a Coke. It goes great with a Lynchburg lemonade.
Apparently, that's the second pour or fifth pour that Eddie's had today.
He's already here. He's out. Eddie, just stop, okay? Wow.
That 80 proof really got to him.
Seriously.
Yeah, it's a little more complex than you thought, isn't it, there, buddy?
It's a long wheelchair ride back to your house.
But all right, we'll switch over, and we'll go to the Bottle and Bonded next. So the Bottle and Bonded is a rye. So kind of looks like this.
This one here.
Bonded Rye. Okay.
So I bought this when Bo and I started talking about Tennessee whiskey. I went out and bought this, and I actually took a sip of it, and I was really impressed. I love a good rye, and I was really surprised on how sweet and approachable this rye was. I know when Dave was down here last, we gave him a couple ryes, and he was like, "No, don't like the rye." This one is actually much friendlier rye.
So number 7 doesn't have rye?
Old Number 7 does. So the mash bill of this is going to be somewhere around 80% corn. When I looked online, they don't give the exact numbers, but it was about 80% corn is what I saw. You're looking at about 10% rye, and then you're looking at about 10% malts. So that's the mash bill. That's what makes up Old Number 7. So for it to be a rye, it has to be at least 51% rye. So rye, it would be the largest grain. There is corn in this. So think of a bourbon flip backwards. So the second grain becomes corn and the first grain becomes rye. So with rye, you tend to get, well, I won't tell you.
So is this still a
This is a
whiskey?
rye whiskey.
Or is it a bourbon? Or is it both?
It is a whiskey. So yes, it is a whiskey, but it's a rye whiskey. So the main grain is not corn like bourbon or the Tennessee whiskeys, the main grain would be rye. So rye brings in a completely different flavor profile. So again, by
But
the
it's still
nose,
Tennessee whiskey, right?
it's still Tennessee whiskey because it's made in
confusing,
Tennessee.
man.
Oh no, it gets worse. Wait till we talk about what bottle and bonded is. We haven't even.
I do want to know what bottle and bonded means. I do not know what that means. So you got
It's smelling right off the bat.
Smells like glue.
It has more of a medicinal, industrial scent to it than a bourbon. Yeah, I agree.
Yeah,
it doesn't taste like my Elmer's.
I'm obviously drinking a different one, so I don't know if this is bonded. So I don't know what.
It's a rye, so it's going to be somewhere in the ballpark of us. So don't worry about it. It'll be. It's probably. I don't know the proof on that one. It's probably a little bit lower, but it doesn't matter. It's still going to be a rye whiskey. The mash bill is going to be very similar.
So it's 80, 90 proof.
Oh, sorry, Chuck's already wasted, so we're out.
What's the proof on this one, Bailey?
He just had a heart attack, so this is a mannequin right now.
It's really weird, but that has a better taste to me than the 7, but it has a after bite to it.
Like
Yeah.
So you get the hug. So the Jack Daniel's number 7 is 80 proof. The bottle and bonded is 100 proof. So you've really gone up on proof.
Well,
so you're drinking a much higher proof whiskey.
I'm from Alabama, so I'm not used to drinking anything less than 120 proof. So,
that's fair.
Yeah.
We're getting close. We're getting close to home for you. So, bottle and bonded means, or bottle and bonded was in the 1800s. There was basically whiskey people sold by the barrel, right? So you didn't have bottles per se. So basically, there were rectifiers, and people would buy a bottle of Jack Daniel's, and they would put it into 2 barrels, and they would add turpentine. They just add stuff to it to make the barrels bigger to sell it. So it was ruining the quality of whiskey. So the government came in and created the Bottle and Bond Act that says basically, if your whiskey is going to be bottle and bonded, that gave it it had to sit in a federal rick house. It had to be in there for at least 4 years. It had to go in the barrel at least 100 proof, and it has to go in at 50% alcohol or 100 proof, and it has to be distilled in the same year. So they basically put some rules saying your whiskey every time will taste like it'll come out like this, because there was so much cheating going on in the whiskey world at the time. So bottle and bonded was a way. Now bottle and bonded now is a tax deference system for a lot of corporations, right? So you put it in the warehouse, and they don't tax you because it's just sitting there. So you don't have to pay the tax until you go and sell the actual bottle of whiskey. So it's actually for the companies nowadays, it's more of a tax hideaway than it is. So they're not being taxed immediately on the whiskey. So, but bottle and bonded again is going to give you a different flavor, and by it being a rye is going to give you a completely different flavor than that of the corn kind of bourbony whiskey. So you guys did notice, Ted? Can you taste the difference?
Oh yeah.
Yeah, I'm surprised because mine's a 90 proof, but still a lot more than the number 7. But it doesn't taste like it doesn't have that fire like you would think for 100.
It's actually pretty well made. It's a very well made spirit.
Yeah, I like that better than the 7.
Pretty good.
I don't think it's as sweet as the 7.
No,
either, right?
I would agree.
I definitely get the trailing flavor as well. See, I'm almost like Eddie.
Almost.
No, not even.
Almost. Yep.
Oh, you jumped ahead, Eddie. Isn't that the next bottle?
Are you surprised? Come on, Bo. He's always ahead of us.
No. He's drinking the rye, but from a single barrel. So he's got a fancier version of the rye.
So did somebody already say this tastes like got some almonds in it?
Aren't you special?
I taste almond.
Get
I'm
nuts.
so junk punchy next time I see you.
So a lot of times with rye, Ted, you'll pull in kind of that pepper, baking spice, cinnamon, nutmeg, clove, kind of those stronger baking herbs. Kind of a lot of times when you think of a rye, a lot of times sugar will move from caramel, and you might get more of a honey sweet than a caramel sweet. But yeah, you can definitely pull a lot of whiskeys. You can pull different nuts out of it, from walnut to pecan to basically you name it. So
I
almonds,
got the honey and I got the.
You're not eating almonds right now, are you, Ted? Because that would
No,
defer your
I mean
taste buds.
pistachios. And I'll be the first to say that my palate, I don't like these things you're talking about, pepper and just, I don't.
You will.
All right.
You will.
I was
You
actually
do this-
surprised
you-
I pulled almond out of there.
You do this a couple weeks, you'll be amazed at what you can pull out.
Okay.
So,
It's-
but I would
I
say
like
to me, I was a huge fan of this bottle of Bonded Rye. My wife has really enjoyed it. My wife drank more of the bottle than I have, to be honest. But I think it's a friendlier version of a lot of the ryes that you can taste. It's not as aggressive as a lot of ryes.
I would say that, Brian. I agree with that because some of the ryes that we had, where I was kind of like,
Yeah.
this is actually it just seems a little gentler.
This would go really well in a Manhattan. This would go really well in an old fashioned. To bring some of that peppery, spicy, not over sweet. Because a lot of times you go bourbon in those, they just get too sweet, right? You start to add a sugar cube or a sweetener to it. So ryes go really well in old fashioned as Manhattans to kind of give you that little spicier flavor.
So now you got Chuck all fired up about doing a smoked old fashioned with the Bonded Rye.
Well, we're inside, and I'm mad at Eddie because he was smoking a cigar earlier.
He's all jealous now,
and I'm all worked up over a cigar right now. So
that's fair.
I'll get by.
So, Brian, just because I got back from Park City, I'm now trying to connecting the dots. So, High West has the Boo Rye and a bunch of, I think, other ryes.
Yeah.
But that's obviously not Tennessee.
No. So the reason it's called Tennessee is it goes through the charcoal
It's made in
process,
Tennessee.
and it is also made in the state of Tennessee, right?
Quick.
Those are the two big separators, right? So
Can tell the
So-
smartest of the group.
bourbon can be made anywhere inside the United States. Canada makes a lot of bourbons, but they can't call it bourbon because only bourbon can be made in the United States because of a decree of our government, right? So the beauty of the whiskey world, it's confusing as hell.
Yeah.
And I think they do it on purpose. So like when you read a whiskey bottle and it says straight whiskey, right? So you see straight bourbon. What does that mean? Well, that means if there's no age statement on the label, then it has to be at least 4 years old, right? So by rule, to be a bourbon, it only has to be in an oak container. Doesn't say how long, but to be a true bourbon, but anything under 4 years old, it would have to be labeled as basically a young bourbon. But again, to me, I wanted to do the rye just to kind of give you 180 degrees opposite of Old Number 7, right?
Yeah.
So Old Number 7 comes out sweet, very friendly. The rye is going to give you a little more layer to it. You're going to pull out a couple different flavors. There's more to it than that of the actually Old Number 7.
Yeah.
And then we're going to go into the single barrel, and the single barrel is Old Number 7 on steroids. It would be the best way to describe it. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, their double rye is really good for like
We
$30
should-
bucks.
Tennessee as well.
I
Eddie?
vote for the next one being a High West tasting.
We're next month we're doing Irishes because it's St. Patrick's week.
Oh,
Okay.
But we will go. Yeah, we can do High West the month after that.
All right.
that's
I have
the
a bunch
worst
of-
Irish I've ever heard.
Sorry.
Worst Irish ever.
So all right, let's jump over to our Jack Daniel's single barrel.
Wow.
So this
This guy.
should give you. Yep. This should give you.
Well, they got
Notes and flavors.
Hold on. Ah,
And then the
Sorry.
fun thing to do, if you do have some Old Number 7 left, take a little of this, enjoy it, and then go try the Old Number 7, and then you'll see kind of what Eddie said, how flat and boring Old Number 7. It's good, don't get me wrong, but compared to the single barrel, and do we know why they call it a single barrel, gentlemen, for the newbies?
good.
Because
Because it
from
comes
one
out of
barrel.
a
Probably just as obvious as being from Tennessee. Go.
because it comes out of a single barrel.
Still needs to explain it, so let's clarify that.
Roll Tide.
Oh
Tide.
God.
See, that's what I said, Chuck. That's why I said all the things I said before.
Why nobody likes people from Alabama?
It has a cork.
Bo,
It has a cork. It's gotten fancier.
we're good.
But I've had some really trashy, junky whiskeys that have a cork. So that's not always true.
Well, that's so different from that rye. The comparison between that rye, the spice and everything in there versus this is, I mean, I don't know if it messed me up or not. It's good, smooth. I'm not picking a lot of flavor up out of it yet, to be honest with you.
I like that.
That's really smooth.
If you have water in between chase with a little water or Pennsylvania piss water.
Cut it out, Brian. That ain't right.
You can just clear that palate a little bit. Because if you drink whiskey after whiskey, they all kind of blend together at one point.
I like that.
Yep.
No.
What proof is this right now? Is that 128, Eddie? This stuff? Is this 128 proof?
Every bottle's different. So mine is at 104.
104.
It should be right on the front. I can't even read shit.
Mine's 90. It's just double the percentage, right? So mine's 94.
Yeah, 94.
You see that?
So everyone's different. Why is that?
Low light.
Because every barrel is going to come out with a little different.
Well, that's
When they blend a whiskey, so Old Number 7 is a blend. So it's probably 70 different barrels they bring together. They kind of blend them together and then they kind of pour them. When it's a single barrel, it's going to come out of a single barrel. So whatever the proof goes into the barrel comes back out of the barrel.
How big are these barrels?
94.
Right here, they're 55, roughly 55 gallons.
This says 47% alcohol.
Okay.
So it's 94?
94, yeah. So you and Ted have roughly the same proof on it.
Interesting.
But so your single barrels, you tend to get a little more complexity, possibly, because again, the beauty of Old Number 7 is it's like a blended Scotch, right? Johnny Walker. It's like if you go get Johnny Walker Black, Red, Green, Blue, no matter where you are in the world, when you get that Johnny Walker, you know what it tastes like, and it needs to taste like that. So the only way they can achieve that is by blending a bunch of barrels together to create it.
Yeah.
Where the single barrel, you don't have that flexibility, so you can get a lot of variance in flavor out of a single barrel.
Sorry. I was telling him, I go, you like this one? And he goes, yeah, I like this one. He's like, but I really like that rye. Well, you're getting the rye. That's the one I'm giving you, so shut up.
That's a good night.
Yeah. Could be worse.
Huh. I'm going to have to start bringing a partner in too so I can take
There you go.
It sucks.
I wouldn't call him a partner. Let's not go down that road, Bo.
God,
We drink together. We smoke cigars together.
Hey,
we play golf together.
Hey, Brian has editability here. He'll cut you right the hell out of here. I mean, we'll just drop you like a hot
word. All right, whatever.
No, I can just go in there and actually add words. It'd be much more fun.
Really good.
Is that what yours is, Eddie? Yours is a single barrel proof? Barrel proof. Okay. They don't sell that in Pennsylvania because I bought the only one they had.
There was one bottle of Jack Daniels in all of Pennsylvania, and he found it.
Well, that's the only one that was at our liquor store. How about that? They're state-run liquor stores, so you get what the state buys.
Virginia's the same way. It's kind of disappointing.
I went to Bevmo.
You went where, Ted? To Costco?
Bevmo. Pretty much.
No, in California, they sell whiskey and all at Costco, don't they?
There's no ABC stores. You buy it anywhere. You can buy it at the grocery store.
I walked into it's a Vans or Vances or something. Bonds, yeah. So that's what's by my daughter in San Diego. I turned the corner and there's a freaking liquor store. I'm like, whoa.
Yeah.
Look at that.
But where are you at?
I'm in Virginia, baby.
All right. I grew up in North Carolina.
Yeah, I know. South of me. That's what you had to be. If I'd have said North Carolina, you just said South Carolina.
No. I'm being serious. What's the state?
I was born in Florida. Hola, I was from Cuba.
This is terrific.
So was Eddie.
I like this one.
You get the other one. You get the rye. Don't know. You get the rye. I take that one.
The rye's fine.
All right. So if you have any old number 7 left, try old number 7 and then come back to the single barrel and see if you can see the difference between the two.
Chuck, just go right out of the bottle, Chuck. Just go right out of the bottle.
That works.
There's your new glass.
Hold on. Shotgun, just shotgun it. Remember? What was it?
I can taste the proof though in the single barrel. Like it definitely
more proof.
Yeah.
I don't want to dump that on my computer
anymore.
But if you go back to old number 7, like Eddie said, it almost becomes water. It just it just becomes very flat, very boring. Again, not much to
wow,
it.
you're not shitting. Wow.
Yeah.
That's like nothing there.
That's amazing.
Thanks, Eddie. Wow, look at that. Wow.
Yep. So
there's
old
like
number
no taste to it. That's
old
crazy.
number 7 is going to be about 4 years old, give or take. Your single barrels are probably looking 6, 7, 8.
That's
Kinda
amazing.
that-
The difference
that
on the
category.
taste, though. I didn't think there would be that. Like when you do it originally, and then go up the ladder there, and then to go back, and it's like, what happened?
It's almost like there's nothing there.
There's no flavor. There's no finish. There's no nothing. I thought Eddie was full of shit, but I guess.
Well, he is, but he got lucky.
I mean, all those bottles in the background are just bullshit. All right, it's all colored bottles and crap, whatever.
Did y'all not see that backdrop? You could choose it when you came in here. It looks exactly like Eddie's backdrop.
By the way, I broke every horse on those funny little bottles you had in there anyway. So
That's right.
Remember I told you, Eddie, I was like, do you mind if I open these up? You're like, don't even touch them.
I'm not a huge Blanton's fan. I have 2 Blanton's bottles. You can come over here and crack the horse anytime you want. I don't care.
I got some Blanton's.
Blanton's is
You do
okay.
Blanton's. You don't like Blanton's?
It's okay.
Yeah.
I'm not a huge Blanton fan. It's okay.
You're going to go down that path that I went down, Brian, where somebody's going to get you a nice bottle of that, and you're going to have to eat your crow.
No. I enjoy sitting down with a good Blanton's. It's just I don't think Blanton's is as great as everyone says it is.
Where's Blanton's from?
It's Buffalo Trace, so Kentucky. It's good.
That's the reason. The only reason I have it here, someone gave it to me, because it's got a horse on the top and secretary at the company. So.
Yeah.
I broke every one at Eddie's house. They're all just glued on. Don't even think.
He actually he actually put them on different bottles. he moved the horses all around.
Hiding them on them. It was fun. Eddie, find the horse.
All right, so we had 3 different whiskeys tonight. Go around. We'll start with Bo. What was your favorite and why? And which one did you find the least appealing?
I think the old number 7 was the least appealing. I agree with Eddie. It just wasn't as flavorful once you got into the other 2. But I think my favorite. I really liked the barrel proof, the single barrel. I did like it, but I think I liked the rye the best. That was my favorite from a flavor standpoint.
Yeah,
and that's not just because Chuck's from the South and.
He's more South than we are.
Yeah.
All right, Dave and Chuck, let's hear it.
All right, so Charles, you may go first.
The single barrel was delicious. I mean, it was very, very smooth, and but I like the little kick that the rye produced. At the very end, the pepper.
Yep.
And my favorite was the rye.
Nice. And I would assume number 7 was your least favorite.
I would say so, Brian. Yeah.
All right, Dave.
So I'm going to upset the apple cart here a little bit.
Well, number 7 was your favorite, wasn't it?
No. Actually, no, thank you. I have some taste. No, honestly, single barrel.
And it's not his mouth either, by the way.
Was my favorite. The rye was my least favorite. I'm sticking to that theme, Brian. I'm just
That's
not.
fine.
I don't know. The ryes just don't do it for me. And I actually don't mind the number 7. After drinking the single barrel, though, it is very
Underwhelming.
underwhelming.
Yeah.
Very well said. So I do have to say this though, gentlemen. I'd like to raise a glass. First of all, to Brian Bailey putting this on. Great job. To my father who passed away on Sunday.
Oh shit! I'm so sorry.
Yeah.
Cheers.
Thank you, gentlemen.
Sorry.
Cheers.
Thank you, Brian, for doing this.
Cheers.
He would have loved this. So here's to TW Higgins.
Yes, TW. Looking
Right.
down on us now, laughing at his son, going, "Fuck, he doesn't like a rye."
You know, he's sitting up there going, why is this idiot doing this right
I
now?
knew he didn't have hair on his chest. It all makes sense now.
I'm trying to tape it on, you know, it's how it works. Whatever.
All right, Eddie, what was your favorite and least favorite?
Oh, I love this. We're ready.
Yeah. Yeah.
Interesting.
Hey, Eddie, I just want you to know if you didn't pay any attention when we were over there with Brian, we did figure out how to disable the cameras. So we're going to come whether you're there or not. And actually, we've already been once. So.
Brian, what did I say? I can't believe he doesn't have locks on the doors. I'm ready to break into the place
He does now.
because we were there.
That's right. All right, Ted, what did you come up with?
I think I'm with Bo. I mean, I liked interesting because I was trying to think back about the old number 7, obviously iconic label. I think about Motley Crue and Guns N' Roses and the Suns, you know. But we never really in college. We never really drank it. We drank Jim Beam, right? And for whatever
And
reason,
Wild Turkey.
yeah. So it was interesting to taste that again. It was, you know, went down smooth, but it was. I mean, a great order you picked. I did think personally I like the rye the best.
Nice.
But to Eddie's, I just put an ice cube in the single barrel, and I think I would want to sit with that a little bit because it's I don't know, it definitely takes some of that heat off, so it's interesting.
No, so yeah, ice, of course, will dilute the whiskey over time, and they say the lower the proof the whiskey, the more flavors you can actually taste. So a lot of times when you go with a really high proof whiskey, you get a lot of burn and you lose the potential of pulling out different flavors. But the more you drink whiskey, you know, the more impervious you become to the burn. You get the burn, but you're able to kind of fight your way through it and kind of understand those. So kind of for me, I like 110 to 120. That tends to be, it's punchy enough. It's a whiskey that's going to fight you a little bit, but it's not punishing. You start getting 80s, 90s, tend to be a little lower proof, it's okay.
And what was old
fine.
number 7? It was in the 80s.
80s, so 80
Wow.
proof, and that's
Yeah.
kind of the minimum of a whiskey. So a whiskey has to be at 80 proof, like to be bottled. So I hate to say it, if you like Fireball, stuff like that, those are not whiskeys. The proof is too low. They call themselves whiskey or whatever, but they're not. They just don't have enough proof. So it has to be a minimum of 80 proof.
I'm gonna go home and kiss the wife and like breathe on her and blow her eyebrows right off her head.
It could happen,
Again, man, between you and Dave,
Could happen.
way,
but I don't think it has anything to
way
do with
too
whiskey.
much information for this point.
It has nothing to do with the whiskey, though. I would say
It's a saving technique, Bo.
That's
Leave me
right.
alone, all right?
I would say my favorite. I really like the Jack Daniel's single barrel. I think it's very good. And for all those haters of Jack Daniel's, try the single barrels, try the barrel proof, and really give Jack Daniel's a shot. They make really, really good whiskeys. But I'm a rye guy, so I love rye whiskey. So this is kind of a different take on the rye. It's a little sweeter, a little nicer of a rye. But I think it's a very good rye. And
Evidently, the smartest
really
men in the
surprised.
group are going for the rye. That's what I'm
Yes.
thinking.
I disagree with that.
Huh? That's what I'm thinking. Oh,
Eddie,
I'm with you, buddy. I went right.
Yeah.
I'm there, Dave. Or Chuck,
Well,
sorry.
Well,
Dave.
I really thought
Not
Dave was going to go
interchangeable.
old number
Don't
7.
mix that up. Don't mix this up, bro.
I know, my bad. I apologize to whichever one of you got more offended.
So,
Some
so
of
any
us
other
are from New
questions
York.
on
We have a little
the
bit more,
whiskey component?
gravitas there. You know what I'm saying?
Gravitas.
And I use the word gravitas because he doesn't even understand what that means.
Yeah, I know what
Hey,
that
Brian, this is when you figure out when you have 6 people on here that it's way too many people trying to talk.
You got to experiment a little bit and see what the number is and what the number isn't. So, yeah.
Enjoy this
Like,
time, David. Chuck,
imagine
you're
if
out. You
Sykes
never
showed
come
up.
back.
If Johnny showed up, that would have been 7.
Yeah.
Or even Jeremy.
I can do up to 8 in a show. So, yeah, we'll figure that out. I'll just have to get a little creative with the mute button.
You had Dr. Mo on too, right?
Yeah, we had him back. Yeah, he came on the first one, but he's been busy as well.
No, dude, he's been slammed at the hospital.
Yeah.
The man's he's a one-man sphincter doctor. I'll tell you, he's just
Good God, guys.
he's on a roll.
I don't know what that means. A one-man sphincter doctor.
You definitely need a whiskey to go see Dr. Mo.
He's a GI doctor that covers like 3 hospitals.
He did Dave's colonoscopy. They love
I
it.
wasn't going in there, but yes, and I'll send you all the pictures.
Did you wake up and he was smoking a cigarette?
I wrote "Hi Mo" on my ass cheeks with a big heart.
Nice.
His staff almost shit their pants. I did, but they almost shit their pants.
Yeah.
It was so funny.
That part will have to be edited.
Are you editing this later, Brian?
Typically, I haven't had to, but all right. So we'll go around one more time, and any final notes or any realizations about whiskey or Jack Daniels or Tennessee whiskey or any ideas of what you'd want to do in the future on future podcasts.
I like this notion of revisiting all these distilleries. I mean, you can certainly find the craft ones, you can find the unique little boutiques, right? But this coming back to the old stuff and then seeing what they've done. I think one of the first ones you told me to buy was the Bowman's. You know, going back to that Virginia distillery and seeing what they've done since the plastic bottle era of college. You know what I mean? It's really been fun to revisit and see what they can do with. I mean, they've obviously got a craft, right? You don't this isn't something you just happen into and trip on and you end up with a bottle of liquor. So they've got a craft, and just to find the craft behind these things that are kind of commodity based has kind of been fun. So,
yeah. And the cool thing about Bowman's, for you whiskey nuts, they are owned by Diageo, which owns a third of the whiskey world. And supposedly their mash bill is basically Buffalo Trace, except they age it in Virginia and they triple distill it here. So they distill it more like an Irish whiskey. So it actually is run through the still 3 times. So that's why it gives you different flavors than that of a typical Buffalo Trace product. Eddie, final thoughts? Yeah. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. 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 They make good quality whiskeys. Yeah. That's fair.
You whiskey snob.
Probably not going to have Jack Daniels promoting and sponsoring necessarily.
Turn that hat around, because you're just a whiskey snob.
You're shaming Jack Daniels.
Wow.
Well, Eddie, I was getting ready to tell you, they're looking for a large piece of land in Central Virginia. That just went to hell.
Yeah, seriously. No more real estate for you, buddy.
That just went to hell. I had it lined up. All right, Dave, Chuck, what are your thoughts?
Go ahead, Charles.
I love, first of all, I want to acknowledge Bo. Bo, your comments were terrific.
Oh,
And,
God.
you know, I think I love you, Bo.
Oh,
Anyway,
God, here we go again, baby. I just don't want to be a sphincter doctor. Tie me in.
Actually,
I thought Mo wasn't on the line, but we are.
actually, I really like both the barrel and as well as the rye. And this has been terrific, and I've enjoyed it. And
Nice.
I will say thank you to Brian.
Thank you for coming.
Sure.
Dave?
I'm actually loving the fact that I was able to go from the 7 to the rye to the single barrel and actually understand it.
Yeah.
Brian, you do a great job explaining this.
Sucking up, Dave.
I don't think this is suck
You're
up.
sucking up, Dave.
It's not suck up.
Okay,
It's
fine.
No, seriously. We sat there for what?
He's sucking up.
3 hours, 4 hours. I had to pee. You guys are great. But it was just understanding whiskeys. I don't understand it. And this tonight just clarified it. It just made it so understandable. Like Chuck even said, he's like, you know what? We should try to do an old fashioned with the bonded rye. And I smoked. My bad. Smoked bonded rye. So I thought that was kind of a cool idea. Love to try it, but it's just understanding what it is, your knowledge, Eddie's knowledge. Bo, you don't have a lot.
That's okay. I'm good.
Don't take that from me.
Ted, we're on the same level, so that's whatever. But just to understand it a little bit more, to have some fun and taste it. That was the big thing. Just for me, that was great. This the single barrel is fantastic. I'm digging that. And then going to the 7, it was like, wow.
Yeah.
I'm not an Eddie snob. I'm not putting my hat backwards, but that was a big difference. That was impressive to see that, to taste it, and understand it.
And with your old fashions, try different whiskeys in your old fashions because every whiskey is going to make an old fashioned taste a little bit different. As well as
Woodford. That's what
Woodford
I used to do.
Woodford's fine. You know, Bullet. I don't like Bullet per se, but it goes really well in a Manhattan because it's a higher rye. So again, try different rye combinations. Try different syrups or different. Use maple syrup. Use simple sugars. Do a sugar cube. Do a flavored sugar, and just kind of keep tweaking that old fashioned. Because the beauty of an old fashioned is it's limitless on the combinations and what you can make it taste like. So Ted, what are your thoughts here as a newer whiskey drinker having?
Yeah. Well, look,
iconics.
I said I was a newbie, but I think I'm even a couple steps backwards of that. Like you said a lot of like good intel, but I think I'm even more confused now. Like I thought bourbon and whiskey were separate things, and now you're telling me they're the same. And but I'm glad we started with the classic because I think it gives me some good baseline. Like you said, the iconic, old number 7. And I look forward to learning more and tasting more, and and moving up the ladder a little bit.
No, I think it's a good plan, and the beauty is, again, like Jack Daniel's, it's a kind. You think of Motley Crue, I think of Frank Sinatra. When I think of Jack Daniels, I think of Frank Sinatra.
Frank's old number 7.
Old number 7.
Really?
Yeah.
I did not know that. Well, Motley Crue just crashed their plane, so that's a whole different issue.
Rat Pack like their Jack. But again, I think the fun part is whiskey is so diverse, so much fun. Drink responsibly, everybody. Don't. But the beauty of it is there's so many variations of and flavors of, and it's not confusing, Ted. The reason it's Tennessee whiskey really is they didn't want to be called a bourbon. So Tennessee said, hey, we're going to create our own brand. So they added a new process that had to be done in the state of Tennessee. So basically it is a bourbon, but they wanted to be different, market share, right?
But like an Irish whiskey or a Scotch is not a bourbon, right?
No. Their main grain would be malted barley or barley. So the Irishes and the Scotches are going to give you a completely different flavor profile.
Eddie, stop it.
Yeah, right.
But what you're doing right now, Brian, is just making Ted go, yeah, see, it is confusing, dumbass.
It is. No, the whiskey world is completely confusing. It is completely confusing.
Create a chart. A diagram. Venn diagram would be fantastic.
Yes. I'll get Kamala Harris on that. She has some free time.
Nice.
Yes.
Sorry.
Kamala Harris Venn diagram.
Yeah.
But I think, but again, to me, whiskey is confusing until you really understand. There's only 4 grains. Really, it's either malted barley, it's either corn, rye, or wheat. Those are your 4 grains.
There you go.
So every whiskey is going to be a version of that.
Every whiskey is going to be a version of that.
Yeah.
Right.
So a bourbon is corn based. So 51% of your mash bill has to be corn, right? A rye has to be 51% rye. Irishes don't use corn they do single grains over there, so they do some corn, but they tend to be barley and malted barley. Scotches tend to run it through stills twice. Irishes run it through 3 times.
Oh.
And again, the reason the Irish did that is they wanted to kind of like Kentucky wanted to separate from bourbon, right? Kentucky makes 95% of all bourbon around the world. Like Kentucky is bourbon, but Tennessee wanted to be different. Scotch is the granddaddy of whiskey around the world. The Irish didn't want to be in the shadows of Scotch, so they triple distilled and kind of spun off their own version of the malted whiskey. So again, the beauty is whiskey really it's typically 3 grains. It's either corn, rye, or barley, and then wheat would be a secondary grain more than anything. So
Come on,
like your
Ted,
Maker's
didn't that
Mark.
just clear it up?
Yeah.
You know
Clear it up.
You know, I have to say I did read some of that in that magazine, of your magazine.
Very
I
transparent.
did know some of it.
Yeah. There you go.
Brian,
But-
just don't do a test after this because we're screwed.
No, trust me, I couldn't write in big enough letters in crayon for you. Couldn't fit it on the screen. But the there are. Yeah. So we're going Irishes next month, boys.
Right?
We're gonna go. Bo has set the schedule for us pretty much. We're gonna go Redbreast 12.
Oh,
We're gonna go Green Spot,
Okay.
and then we're gonna go. I don't have a Jameson's bottle, but we're gonna go Jameson intro, kind of like old number 7, right? So we'll come in with Jameson. Everyone kind of knows what Jameson tastes like. You probably had a Jameson at one point in your life, and an Irish coffee, or at some point you probably had Jameson. So we'll kind of start there with old number 7, and then we'll kind of work into Green Spot and then into Redbreast. But I would say for bourbon drinkers, people that really like bourbons, I'd say Redbreast 12 would probably be your gateway whiskey into Irishes. It's going to give you a lot of the same flavors and notes that a lot of bourbons give you.
Sweet.
So I will send out that list, and we will do that next month. Any questions or anything?
Hey, one last thing I'll say.
Just for buying all these bottles, but
When Mutt and Jeff shut the hell up, I'll say one more thing.
Next week.
Hey, I will just say this has been fun. I think it's you guys all kind of complimented Brian. I will say it's a pretty cool notion here. We got you guys will start to see a few more of our college clan. We think we've got them all to the point where we'll get them all on at some time. So old friends like Ted and John and Jeremy, when they get on here, Brian and I a chance to reconnect. Yeah, meeting Eddie was really cool. You other two, we'll work on you a little bit. We'll work.
Bo, you went.
Judgment's still out.
Yeah.
Listen, I mean it. It's fun. So one of the best things about this is we can sit around and have a whiskey. Let me finish. We have a whiskey.
You understand what this college was? I'm not lying here. I don't know.
It wasn't Alabama.
Barber College.
It's been fun. Hey, the social aspect of it's really fun, and I appreciate the reconnect and the new introductions. I think that's pretty cool. It's a pretty cool idea, and I like where we're going here.
Yeah.
Dave, we went to Virginia Polytechnic Institute and State University, also known as Virginia Tech.
Wow, it got a lot.
Also known as Virginia Tech.
But
We used to have a football team.
But Bo went to Barber College. Don't even go.
He went to clown college.
I do cut my own hair.
Have you ever heard of East Carolina?
Hair.
East Carolina University.
Yeah, the Pirates.
I have.
Hey, baby.
All right.
All right.
I got a good friend went to East Carolina.
That's right.
I grew up in
Who's the-
Virginia
who's the
Beach. I was
quarterback
only
that went
about
to
an hour and a
ECU?
half from you.
I love it.
There was a quarterback that went pro from ECU. He fucking beat the shit out of Tech one year. I remember.
Who hasn't?
It was supposed to be. This is back when we were good. It was like a cupcake win, and they kicked our ass.
I don't remember. That happened a lot too.
Even
Even we go back and remember the good old days. They weren't that good. Now that we look back at it, we're like, better than they are today. All right, boys, let me shut this up.
College in the entire United States, St. Bonaventure.
Nice.
Bonnies.
The Bonnies?
The Bonnies, baby.
Nice. All right, I'm going to shut this puppy down. Stay on for a couple minutes. And everyone that witnessed this, I apologize for Dave. But other than that, I hope you learned a little bit. I hope you enjoyed hanging out and having some whiskey with us. Thank y'all, and we'll see you next Wednesday.
Yeah,
Cheers.
great.
Do you apologize for me?